Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps my honourable colleague from Alberta can outline in very clear terms the threat that foreign governments are posing on Canadian members of Parliament who simply want to stand up for human rights and justice, peace, order and good government in Canada.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the question that was asked by my colleague from British Columbia. And it's, as I highlighted in my speech last night, not too many hours ago, it's especially prescient at a time when yesterday evening we learned that there was a sophisticated cyber attack, as announced by Premier Eby in British Columbia, against certain government infrastructure, IT infrastructure in that province. And I think that it speaks to not only the risks that members of Parliament face, but to ultimately the need for Canadians to feel free to engage, be a part of, and active in their democratic process. I think so often what happens in this place is a signal to what is possible and the potential of what happens across our country. So I think that it's not only the necessity to ensure that the government is responsive, and one of the big questions here, Mr. Speaker, is that the government knew, but they did not inform. And the need to ensure that there is that clear, those clear lines of communications to make sure that we have the trust for not only members of Parliament, but for all Canadians, including diaspora groups, some of which may be vulnerable to some of these types of attacks.
Well said. Amen. So the honourable member for New Westminster Burnaby.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We had this debate last night. This is an important question of privilege. And we've seen in the information that has come forth in the preliminary report from the whole Commission that the NDP pushed hard to have set up as a public inquiry. But at the time, as this foreign interference, clearly documented cases came forward, whether it's the member for Vancouver East or the member from Wellington Halton Hills, members of Parliament were not informed. And now we have this issue of the question of privilege where 18 members of Parliament were victims of a cyber attack and were not informed by the government. I wanted to ask my colleague, is it ever appropriate that the government withhold important information like that when members of Parliament are involved? Is it ever appropriate that the government not put into place protocols so that the members of Parliament who are targeted by this foreign interference are actually made aware of this?
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I think that highlights the need to ensure that there are processes in place, that there are protocols. But I think that we need to be careful in this place, that we don't allow the need to look for a solution to something that was obviously a failure of leadership. Time and time again, we see this government will only acting when pushed, only acting when forced to respond. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that in the discussions that have taken place in the aftermath of Justice Hoag's report, in the continuing conversations around election interference, making sure that our democratic infrastructure is secure, making sure that us as members of Parliament, we are able to do the good work that we do, but also, Mr. Speaker, and I would emphasize this again, that it is not simply us as members of Parliament that need to be concerned. It is all Canadians to ensure that their voices in our democratic process are protected, because that is the very heart of what democracy is meant to be.
So true.